performance over the weekend. I wanted to play a clip, but then I think I would get banned from the NFL. But he played really well. A lot of people talking about him. Donald Parham, Storm Norton, Michael Dunn, others. All these guys are playing in the NFL. And then nearly 2 years ago, the XFL started putting together their rosters of all their 8 teams. In 2019, NFL preseason was part of the XFL's team building process. So flash forward between the Hub and Spring League, you gotten a lot of guys on making rosters. And we're still waiting, of course, for Redbird Capital, Danny Garcia and Dwayne Johnson to get their act together. By the way, I did watch with the family last night, DJ. We watched Jungle Cruise. It was a fantastic movie. And it's great. And I bet you they're going to upgrade the ride at Disney World. It's going to be fantastic. I'm happy for your career. Everything's going good. We got it. You even came out with a new cleat, which is great. What's going on with this XFL? I mean, you really want to make an impact. Making movies is one thing, and that does change people's lives. Like this just takes things for Danny and The Rock to just a whole nother level. So let's go. We're ready. Let's get some news going. So you've got 48 former XFL players on CFL rosters. 39 former XFL players finished the 2020 season. This is also from our man Mike Mitchell. Oh, my goodness. And then let's see. So XFL players on 2021 NFL rosters, you got 42. Cardinals have got Jarrell Garcia-Williams. Falcons have got Willie Beavers, Jeff Badette, but I think he just recently got an injury cut. Ravens still have Nick Moore, the Vipers. Buffalo Bills, Tanner Gentry from the Guardians. Carolina, P.J. Walker, Colin Thompson. Martez Ivy from the Vipers, and Kenny Robinson, of course. Those are the 3 big ones, the Carolina. Bengals, Eric Dungy. Like to see him out there. Jacques Patrick's getting some run this year, too. From the Vipers, Reese Horn as well, and Khalil McKenzie from the Wildcats. Cleveland Browns have got Johnny Stanton, Michael Dunn, which I think he's played well. Connor Davis, Battlehawks as well. Of course, our Hunter Niswander from the DC Defenders, and a Christian boy. He's doing pretty well for himself there in Dallas. Denver Broncos, DeMornay Pearson L., the Battlehawks, and Savion Smith, the Houston Roughnecks. He gets cut and picked up. Detroit Lions, Goldwyn and Bukwe from the Dragons. Long snapper Scott Daly from the Guardians. Deandre Thompkins of the DC Defenders. He's on the Green Bay Packers. Antonio Callaway, very much talked about. He was cut by the Dolphins, but he's from the Vipers, barely. I don't even know if I really consider him an XFL player, but he technically was there and got injured. He's on the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, Donald Parham Jr. making some noise. Austin Proll, another great player from the Dragons, and Storm Norton, Wildcats, all making a difference there. Rams have got Austin McGinnis of the Renegades. New England Patriots recently signed DC defender Brian Kudroy. I remember him practice. He's a practicing beast on the sidelines there for the DC Defenders. New Orleans Saints, Jake Lampin, man, from the Vipers. Wide receiver Elijah Quails, DC Defenders, defensive tackle on the Giants. Of course, the New York Jets have got a couple big ones. Josh Johnson, of course, with the Wildcats. I think he'll have a chance to stick all season long. Austin Walter, he also played in San Francisco. Edmund Robinson, great player, linebacker, one of my faves from the Houston Roughnecks, and Elijah Campbell for the DC Defenders, cornerback. He's on there. Tyree Jackson, there was just an article actually this week someone sent over about Tyree Jackson, talking about his history and kind of what's going on with him with the Eagles. And what was interesting in the article is that Greg Gabriel, I think his name, was the player personnel person of the DC Defenders. They had a quote from him. And they were saying that Tyree Jackson actually was playing better than Cardell Jones in practices, and they wanted to put him in sooner, but because they were paying Cardell all this big money, they couldn't put him in, and they finally put him in. But their thinking is that for the rest of the season that Tyree Jackson was going to be the quarterback. Now, in the article, they were kind of pumping him up at how well he played. I mean, they didn't really do much on offense. They did beat St. Louis. They didn't really do much, and I was there at the game. Did Tyree really impress me at quarterback? I mean, not really. But, I mean, that was his first game. But the interesting part was that they were really only playing Cardell Jones because they were paying him all the big money and he wasn't getting it done. And so I think Cardell Jones, I mean, if that's the case that they wanted to go with Tyree Jackson over Cardell from day one, which is what the article made it sound, then I think I think Cardell Jones' days in the XFL would be over, even if there's a reboot. But that was an interesting article. We posted it on our Facebook and social media stuff. You can check it out. It's like nj.com in New Jersey. Just look up Tyree Jackson on Eagles, and you'll find that article. Some interesting quotes in there. Christian Kuntz of the Renegades, a long snapper. We got Walter Palmore from the Roughnecks on the Seattle Seahawks. Tennessee Titans have got Donnie Ernsberger, another DC defender. And, of course, Washington football team's got Taylor Heineke, who people are still rooting for. John Toth of the DC Defenders, Bumani Rotimi of the Guardians, and Gabe Wright from the Roughnecks. They are on your Washington football team. So keep checking. We'll see. We're going to track all this kind of stuff. There are some other player signings that we have because this kind of breaks all the time. Of course, Giants signed. We got Elijah Qualls. We covered that. Patriots signing DC defender Brian Corroy. He was the guy that was practicing all the time. So there's your players on XFL players on NFL rosters right as of right now.